All right, so next up on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda as it is.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Next up is public comment. I believe we have Laura Fulcher, more to speak.
Hello. There was an article in the paper, Sunday's paper, about a Corps of Engineer paying $7 million to dredge at Cape Lookout. I was hoping perhaps our commissioners could get in touch with all the other commissioners in these little towns, get in touch with the county commissioners, and ask the Corps of Engineers to dredge BoC Inlet.
That would be awesome.
It's very, very shallow, but it's going to take a whole bunch of officials to get it all together and to encourage them. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, I was going out that inlet twice myself this past week, and it seems to shift almost hourly. And was that all we had? Anybody else sign up? Okay. Next up is a planning board report. Mr. Quintella, I believe you are representing tonight.
I am.
Thank you. Grab that. Thanks for being observant.
Yeah. So good evening. Is this on? Hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
good.
Just a couple of highlights from our last meeting. Two main issues really stem from it: mailbox mounting and the numbers that were posted on homes. At the crux of the matter for the mailbox housing mounting, it's really more of a safety issue. It was brought up by one of the board members. The concern surrounding, hey, if it's permanently posted, things like concrete or masonry, any vehicle hits it, is it a safety issue? So we requested some information from the police department. They issued a memo that basically stated, hey, there haven't been any significant issues other than vandalism. So after some healthy discussion where we arrived with it was basically a motion that just was going to prohibit future masonry mailboxes failed, 2-2 vote. And so the next issue with the numbers posted on homes, this was brought up because a lot of the homes around towns don't have the numbers clearly posted. And that's definitely a safety issue for fire, police. We had a lot of healthy and lengthy discussion about that as well. Where we arrived with that was basically we recommended that a letter be sent to those homes that are not currently posting those numbers the way that they should as per the town ordinance. The other thing is we also had a fire official present in the room that night, and they were talking about their initiative to put up the reflective signs. Problem is with these reflective signs, oftentimes they'll be posted on a mailbox that's opposite from where the actual location of the home is, and that can create confusion. Of course, in an emergency, you also understand how that can lose, time, right? So just want to pause right there. Any questions you may have, but those were the two main issues that we talked about. All right, and just a friendly reminder for everybody that our next meeting is going to be on the 21st at 6 p.m. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Made the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I'll second.
Any comments? If none, all in favor? Next is a resolution accepting the June 30, 2023 audited financial statements.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, pleased to present the audited financial statements for you for the period ending June 30th, 2023. Lee Grissom, CPA with S. Preston Douglas and Associates, the town's auditor, is available to you tonight via Zoom, and he'll make some comments about the audit report. So Lee, thank you for being here with us tonight.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes,
All right,
sir.
good, good. Thanks for the opportunity to present via Zoom for the June 30th, 2023 audit. The good news is we issued a clean audit opinion for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023, also referred to as an unmodified audit opinion. Overall, it's a really good year as far as getting the audit by the October 31st deadline. We issued we issued on October 31st and submitted it to the local government commission. So just generally speaking, that's a good indication that the town's getting their information to us in a good in good order and efficient manner, and that's definitely the case here. Also, just a quick note on internal controls. The town has a good arrangement with Alicia O'Reilly to strengthen internal controls. I mean, at smaller municipalities, having good internal controls is usually a struggle. And this year, for the June 30th, 2023 audit, the town, we removed one of the findings that we had reported the year before for segregation of duties. So the town did a better job of rearranging resources to make sure the tasks were separated, where we were satisfied removing that finding for this fiscal year. For this audit, there were 5 or 6 journal entries, which that was basically on par with municipalities of this size. As I mentioned before, the town was very responsive. Frank did a great job as well, working on getting the financial statements out by October 31st, which that's definitely not an easy feat. And there's a lot of my clients and clients throughout the state that struggle to meet that deadline. A couple of housekeeping items. We did not encounter any difficulties with management. There were no new accounting policies adopted during the year. We had no disagreements with management, and we did not consult with another auditor for our opinions. One thing with governmental auditing, we have to test internal controls. So I mentioned that there was a clean audit opinion. There's also a yellow book audit opinion where we required to test internal controls. 2 of the findings that we reported last time dropped off. As I mentioned, the segregation of duties finding was removed, and then there was a finding last year that was a little unusual. It was a one-time finding related to a capital project fund. The SCIF money was supposed to be reported in a separate fund. That was cleaned up this fiscal year, so 2 findings went away. We did have one finding we had to report this year. It's really due to GASB 87 governmental accounting for leases. What the town did is they budgeted the annual expense for vehicle leases rather than the GASB 87 requires you to capitalize the full acquisition costs over basically the present value of all the lease payments. So that was a new standard last year that the town did not account for, which it's definitely now on the town's radar. And Frank, I think Frank and I, and then maybe Alicia and the finance director are going to speak about that again Thursday to make sure we're on the same page. But that was really, that's a budget finding this year. You actually went over 72,000, but that was more of a finding for accounting for leases, GASB 87. I mean, other than that, there were no issues as far as the budget was concerned. So again, we dropped off 2 findings, and that was the one internal control finding was due to a budget overage because of GASB 87 accounting for the police vehicles. Is there any questions about that? All right, as far as financial statement trends at the town, I went back and I was looking at it earlier today. The last 5 fiscal years have been fairly strong at the town. The net position at June 30th, 2023 was at 5 million, which is an increase of 760,000 from the previous fiscal year. Your governmental funds increased by 765,000. Most of that was attributed to the ARPA funds that were brought into revenue in the current fiscal year of just under 600,000. Your general fund decreased slightly by 41,000 this fiscal year. However, your general fund emergency fund is above average for municipalities the size of Cape Carteret. So the minimum fund balance is around 34%, and the town has basically tripled the minimum balance. So a very healthy general fund balance. The one thing too is your SCIF funds were reported in the general fund the previous fiscal year, which I mentioned earlier was a finding. Whenever those SCIF funds are spent, the general fund will end up reporting that right now it's currently an unearned revenue of $337,000. It's a little bit of a confusing accounting thing that I might be confusing you right now talking about it, but there's an unearned revenue at June 30th, 2023 of about $337,000. So then the SCIF funds are sitting in another project. When that money is spent, the general fund will record that unearned revenue as revenue in the general fund. So due to that accounting issue, which was a finding in the previous fiscal year, it sort of made your general fund showing a smaller fund balance than you would have otherwise. Another thing to note, your ARPA funds, you received $328,000 this year and recognized just under $600,000, as I mentioned before. But overall, your tax collection percentage was on par. As I mentioned, your general fund is healthy. The only debt showing is vehicle leases under the GASB 87, as I mentioned. The debt showing $161,000 at June 30th, 2023. And tax collection was pretty strong at 99.5% for the fiscal year. So overall, strong numbers. And then there's just the needs improvement, capturing any future purchases of vehicles that were under a lease agreement to make sure you capitalize the full amount, the present value amount of those lease payments in a single fiscal year. And again, we had a clean audit opinion and just that one finding that I noted. Is there any questions?
Lee, if I could interject for the board's benefit and the audience's benefit, just to elaborate a little bit more on the comment he made about the SCIF funds. So the SCIF is the State Capital Infrastructure Fund. That's the grant the town received for the Cape Carteret Trail, I think a couple of years ago. Probably the biggest takeaway that I want you all to take from this presentation is that the fund balance number next year will be $337,000 more than what we're showing here right now. And it's just an accounting issue with you can't really recognize those revenues until we've actually spent the funds. So for practical purposes, to me, the simplest way to look at this is we've basically considered that we've already spent the money because it's sitting, and you'll see it in the financial reports that it's reserved in a capital projects fund for the trail. So we've basically said, okay, we've already spent the money, but we haven't recognized the revenue yet. So when we recognize the revenue, it's a big $337,000 jump. And if not for that accounting mechanism, you'd be showing a $300 and some thousand surplus from last year. So that's the key takeaway. I think I just want folks to understand that piece of it. Just has to do with the accounting standards that we have to follow. Overall, I think, again, I applaud this board. I applaud the previous boards. I applaud my predecessor. The town remains in very good financial position thanks to good stewardship in the past and certainly, hopefully, good stewardship in the future.
Yeah, and the last piece, Frank mentioned that you were possibly the town would look into switching from QuickBooks to maybe a different accounting software. And just for my 2 cents there, I guess I've been doing this maybe 15 years roughly, and it is very rare that municipality uses QuickBooks. Usually QuickBooks are for small businesses, for those of you familiar with it. So you don't typically see fund accounting, which you're trying to navigate through multiple funds. Just from I've never been on the finance officer side, but just feedback from other clients, they usually complain about QuickBooks. It's usually the clients that have QuickBooks were usually my worst clients over the last decade. So like I said, I've never had hands-on experience. I'm sure I could make QuickBooks work if I had to, if I was on the other side of the desk, but that would be my 2 cents on QuickBooks versus moving to a new accounting software. Any other questions?
I don't think so, man. Thank you so much, Lee. We sure appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys. If there's no other questions, I appreciate the opportunity, and you guys have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, if you're so inclined, there is a resolution included in the packet to formally accept the audit report.
Okay. So with that, do I have a motion to accept the resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, gentlemen. Next up is a resolution authorizing participation in the North Carolina League of Municipalities Municipal Accounting Services Program. It's a great segue he just had for this.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Baker, Commissioners. The resolution for your consideration tonight would authorize the town to participate in a program offered by the North Carolina League of Municipalities. It's called the Municipal Accounting Services Program. It's a program that they have implemented in the last couple of years, really to assist smaller municipalities with the purchase and implementation of new municipal accounting software. As Lee Grissom just alluded to, the town utilizes QuickBooks for our municipal accounting. That's unusual for a local government to utilize QuickBooks, and there are certain governmental accounting standards that are placed upon the town. Most municipalities of any size utilize very specific standardized municipal accounting software, and the resolution before you for consideration tonight would basically allow the town to participate in this program, which would result in the town securing new accounting software. It's through a company called Black Mountain Software. They are actually a Montana-based company, but they are actually under contract with the North Carolina League of Municipalities to offer software at no cost to any municipalities that are chosen to participate in this program. It's funded ultimately by the Federal American Rescue Plan Act, and as you probably have learned in the past, some of the conversations about that, there are a lot of complex accounting requirements and other regulatory requirements attached to those funds. One of the things that the league recognized is that many small towns are just not equipped to deal with those kinds of things, and that many of the small towns just don't have the resources, don't have the software to properly manage municipal funds. So governmental accounting is a little bit different than the private sector. For those of you who have worked in the private sector, maybe manage your own business, it's a little more complicated. You get into multiple funds. This software is tailored specifically for local government, and they've got many local government clients all around the country. They now have many clients in North Carolina. So the way this program works is that the League of Municipalities will fund the initial software license fees. They will also fund the initial 3 years of the annual service fee. And then beyond year 3, it's up to the municipality to enter into an agreement for the annual service fees going forward. So the resolution before you tonight would basically enable the town to acquire this software at no cost, no upfront cost, no cost for the first 3 years. Beginning in year 4, it's an annual cost of approximately $10,000 per year for the software maintenance and for the support that goes along with the software. And that's pretty typical for any of these software programs to have a support mechanism attached to them. The total value associated with this is approximately $90,000 that would be funded by the North Carolina League of Municipalities. Roughly $60,000 of that is the upfront license fee and the upfront setup costs, and then that first 3 years of service, $10,000 per year. This is something that early in my time with the town, I had identified as something that we probably needed to work toward in the future. To set us up with specialized accounting software. It just so happens that the League of Municipalities came along and offered this program at no cost to municipalities. So it was kind of just lucky fate, really, that I'm bringing it to you tonight because it's an opportunity to secure it at no cost. The town has been using QuickBooks for the last several years. It is serviceable. It's just not as It's not as robust, it's not as specialized as I think the town should have and will benefit from in the future. We're currently spending about $3,500 a year on QuickBooks right now, so it is a little bit of additional cost when we get to year 4 and year 5 and so forth. The agreement allows for the service to be terminated with 60 days notice. So if at some point in the future the town identifies a better solution or maybe doesn't like this solution, I hope that's not the case, the town does have the opportunity to cancel it with 60-day notice at that time. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. The accountant, Lee Grissom, alluded to the fact that this audit was a little more challenging than the past. Part of that is just because of the transition and the finance director leaving and an interim finance director and an understandable learning period there. Part of it was a product of the software itself. It's just not as easy to work with for local governments. And so I think this will be a big help. And that's probably why his comment came in there, because it made it a little bit more challenging for us.
Frank, is there any required payback if we were to decide to go another direction at any point within that 3-year period?
Yeah, there is not. So, I mean, if the town, theoretically, the town, I suppose, could cancel it at the end of the 3rd year. I hope that's not the ultimate outcome, but certainly that's an option for the town if we just don't like it or if there's a better product or a better solution out there. Keep in mind that you will need to have some sort of accounting software in the future going forward. So. One of the aspects of this also is basically creating a standard chart of accounts for all of the participating municipalities and trying to standardize things a little more for the different municipalities when we report to the state treasurer and other governmental agencies and so forth. So I think it's something, honestly, I probably would have been bringing some solution to you, probably not this quickly. I probably would have been bringing it in a year or 2 to you, but it's an opportunity to achieve that at no cost. So.
And very little risk.
Any more questions, comments?
Given it's free, I don't really have any issue with this, but I would like during that 3-year period for us to at least explore what the options are before we sign up for $10,000 a year.
Understood.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to authorize the participation in this software program.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor? All right, thank you. And next up is the town manager report.
Several things here in the written materials. I'll try to just hit the high points for you. First of all, congratulations to new commissioners-elect Barnhill and Ritchie, and also to Mayor Baker and Commissioner Watts on their reelection. All of the new elected officials will be sworn in at your December 11th meeting, and they will be seated early in the agenda for that meeting. So look forward to working with them and the new constitution of the board going forward. Also expect to formally recognize departing Commissioners Miller and Waters at that meeting. So I want to thank them for their service to the town as well over the last several years. Fall Festival, from the town's perspective, went very well. Very pleased with the turnout, very pleased with the logistics, really no issues whatsoever. Safe event. I think folks had a fun time. And really pleased with how that went. Please let me know if you have any different feedback than that, and we'll certainly continue to work to improve it in the future. But very pleased with how it went off, and really appreciate the hard work of the staff, in particular Sean Southard and Heather Leffingwell. In addition to the entire staff, it's really a whole team coming together to do that. So felt very good about that. Give you an update on the boat ramp passes. So we started selling on Wednesday, November the 1st. As of this morning, we had issued 175 out of the 285 cap. So at this moment, there's 110 still remaining under the cap. Of those 175, 155 of those were people who secured one pass. There were 20 people who secured a second pass. So that's where we're at right now. We will begin making the passes available to non-Cape Carteret residents and property owners on Friday, December the 1st, assuming that there are still some available below the 285. A couple of issues that I highlighted in the written materials that don't expect to get into tonight, but maybe at your budget retreat, your workshop meeting in the early part of 2024, we can talk about maybe some tweaks to the program, nothing too significant, but just to address some of the concerns that we're hearing. You may have other concerns, or you may think those concerns are not significant, but my intent is to discuss them with you all at a later date. So pleased with that. One thing I did want to make sure that the board was aware of and the public, we now have the boat ramp pass online. So if someone in the town wants to secure their pass, they can simply go online on the town's website, fill out the form, pay the fee online, and we'll process it and get the pass to the person. And we'll keep that in effect for folks from the other towns on December the 1st as well. I didn't want to, as we talked about at the last meeting, I didn't want to make that live for the November 1st date just because we thought that it might be high demand. It actually went really well, I think, on the 1st. We probably had a line for about an hour and a half, and then it kind of got back to normal after that. But anyway, the key point is if you want one, you can secure it completely online at this point, and our staff will process it. We are in the process right now of moving the town's cash balances into higher yield investments through First Citizens and through the North Carolina Capital Management Trust. The board approved the resolution at a recent meeting to authorize us to do that. We expect that that's going to make a significant impact on our investment earnings based on the current interest rates, literally as much as maybe another $100,000 of revenue based on the current rates. And if you know what the rates are going to do a year or two from now, please talk to me after the meeting, and I'd like to get your advice. But anyway, that's all. I just wanted you to know that the mechanics of that are all taking place right now, and feel good about that. Looking at several possible grant applications for the future. There's a Parks and Recreation Trust Fund grant application coming up in the spring. There's also some state grants for wastewater treatment systems, and there's some written materials in there about that. We continue to plug away on the stormwater projects. The Bogue Sound Drive project is nearing completion. They are probably going to be wrapping things up and reopening the street perhaps by the end of the day tomorrow. If not, then maybe on Wednesday. Real pleased with that project thus far. They will essentially finish it. They'll reopen the road. It'll be a gravel road just for that short stretch over the culverts, probably 25 feet or so of roadway. And then they will probably come back in December and pave that and do some other minor paving work for us too, just to give everything a chance to settle and get into place, and then they'll pave it. Everything will look nice. But the street will be reopened perhaps tomorrow, certainly by Wednesday, I think. Real pleased with that. I included a recap in the written materials for you of the 13 locations that were approved by the board previously for attention for stormwater issues before I arrived here. So by the time we finish this and the Neptune Court project, which I'll talk about in a minute, we'll have 8 of the 13 locations completed here probably in the next month or so, and try to knock out the other 5 locations hopefully by the end of the fiscal year is my goal. We'll see how things go going forward. Neptune Court, you all approved a construction contract for that at your October meeting. The contractor is going to get started on that. They'll probably be doing some preliminary work out in the field, perhaps later this week, maybe early next week before Thanksgiving. We're not going to close the street at that location until after the Thanksgiving holidays, just because we didn't want to disrupt anybody's holiday plans in that area. So that project, that'll be number 8 of the 13, and hopefully we'll get that done in the next few weeks. Lots of other things in here. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about any of these things, or really anything else that's on your minds with regard to the town. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that hopefully will improve the community.
Any questions for Frank? If not, then we'll move on to the commissioner reports. Okay, we'll start with you, Charlie.
I just want to say thank you to all the folks that ran for the board. And congrats to the new commissioners that are coming on board next month. Frank, y'all did a great job at the Fall Festival. We came up here and the family loved it. So thank y'all.
Nothing to report.
Yeah, I want to say thank you for the Fall Festival. You know, I got here at 10 and helped set up, and then I shuttled people back and forth to their cars, and it was nothing but positive feedback. People were driving from all over. I made a point to sort of ask, you know, where are you from? And I mean, the people that were from New Bern, oddly enough, gave the most glowing review of our performance on that. So it was good. I thought it was great. It seemed great that we could spread out a little bit. So, you know, thank you, Paxson, for allowing us to use that. I mean, there was just a lot of good things with it. I thought it was great. So yeah, I could go on, but I'll stop. So thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah, excuse me. I'll just have to reiterate what everybody else here has said, and congratulations, Courtney, and to John's not here, and to you. And Jeff, can't say enough about you and Don. And you know, I always say this, and you may get tired of hearing it, but to me, it's that important. Is the most valuable thing we have in our lives is our time, and for anybody to dedicate their time to this board or running for office, that matter, to me, speaks highly of people to want to do that, because you could easily be sitting at your home right now doing something a little more enjoyable than looking about the town's business. So thank you, and thank you guys for currently sitting here, Charlie. And thank you for being here tonight, because it's your town, and we all have a voice in it. We may not agree, but I think when everybody's got the best interest of the town at heart, it makes things a whole lot easier. Fall Festival, I felt, went very well. I can't say enough about our staff, police department, public works, Barbara, Heather, and Sean just did an amazing job. And that was all day. And here again, we're asking our staff to come in on a day off to do this for us. I think that's great that they were there, and everybody did such a wonderful job. Want to compliment the work that went on down at the boat ramp. Looks like the retaining wall, I hadn't been down there yet, but it looked like they were getting ready to fill all that in up against it the other day. So
Yeah, that project actually was fully completed this afternoon.
This afternoon,
So
great,
yeah,
great.
real pleased with it. So.
yeah, yep. So hopefully that'll help keep that from washing away, and we can get some more done in town. That'd be great. The thing about towns is, especially small ones, is wheels turn excruciatingly slow sometimes, but they do turn. And we've made a lot of progress these last few years. I'm very, very happy with the town, where we're at, and I think where we're going. We've got some great people here, and I love being here. I really do. This is a unique area, a very unique town we live in, with some awesome people, awesome staff. Thank you guys for being here. With that, I'm going to shut up and ask for somebody to motion for an adjournment.
I made that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Thank you, guys. And thank you once again for being here.